Hello again, everybody. We're back here in my garage. It's a nice day out here in Tampa Bay, Florida. It's about 76 degrees out, so I decided to come out here and work a little bit more on my Triceratops. Just want to kind of show you the steps I got up to this far on this, because he's pretty well put together as in getting ready to paint. Some of the steps I had in the instructions there, I just kind of want to go over with you. Actually, let me see if I can flip this around here for you. Hope I can get there in the camera for you. But on step one here, as far as the legs, you actually start like on the back of the legs on the right hand side, and only one half of the leg where the notch is at. And they kind of have like a little sub thing here where you actually take half of the leg and line up the notches and swing it in place to lock it in place. And then they ask you to go ahead and glue the leg in place after the fact. Well, I found out that I could actually glue the whole leg together first, so I could take care of my seam work and everything on there and get it all set and ready to go. And then I was able to line up the notches with the holes in the where they need to go, and able to swivel the leg in place. And I did that to all the rest of the other three legs as well, and it seemed to work out fine. So it's your choice if you want to do a half and half, but I just found it easier to prep the legs with the seam work and everything first, glue it down, tape it up, let it sit overnight, and come back the next day and insert the legs to the main torso of the body. So that's kind of like one little thing that I changed from what it says here in the directions. The second thing on this build is the tail assembly. Let me see if I can line it up here for you. Sorry. Just make sure that you don't do the same process you did with the legs. To glue the tail first and then try to insert it on the back end of the rear of the torso. In this case, they actually have little grooves here that actually fit around the circle here. So I actually, in this case, I inserted the lower half and there, had it set up, and then I actually glued the bottom half of the tail and then put the upper half onto it. So that was a tight fit on both the lower and upper half of this circle here. It had some, had a little, actually I had to work it up a little bit just to snap it in place there, but it can be done. And once it was done, I went ahead and taped it all up, let the glue set up overnight. And speaking of glue, something about this kit from Rebel, because it was molded in green. I don't know if it's the mold color or anything, but I tried 3 different glues, and I basically went. Excuse me here a second. I basically went with the old standby of the Red Testers cement glue, because it had the gel properties on there, and I basically lined the parts with it, and when I squeezed them together, it kind of helped fill the gaps of the snap tight parts. So later on, I just went back afterwards and sanded that all down. It was kind of my homemade gap filler on some of the parts. But okay, and moving along, we got our next step here that I had to kind of deal with on step 4. We got 2 halves of the face of the Triceratops here, trike, and this actually lower jaw is at the hinge mechanism because it can be manipulated to open and close. So what I ended up doing was actually painting or airbrushing the inside of the jaw first, with the teeth, tongue, the gum line, the whole 9 yards. And what I did with that was, the colors I picked out for that was basically the X2 white Tamiya for the teeth, and then we went with the red brown for the part of the tongue, and that's the actually XF64, and then the Tamiya gloss black X1. I actually painted the tongue black first, and then I went back with the red brown on top of that, and then I finished up with the Tamiya red X7 to finish off the inside part of his mouth on there. Like I said, it was the whole lower side was airbrushed. Once that was done, basically I glued the two halves together, and then along with the hinged jaw, and worked out just fine. Yeah, because you don't want to glue the actual hinge part itself to the part. So you can, if you can choose it, you can choose to glue it if you want. But I just kind of chose to have the jaw manipulated myself. That was my choice. As far as the frill, you can see here it does have like a little rib part, and there's also a notch once you glue the parts together. Now the way to kind of I did to put the frill over the head was start from the top and then squeeze these two side pieces of the lower frill over his face into, there's like a little groove and a notch that actually fits it in place. So I took a little maneuvering. I kind of scratched up the other side of his face a little bit as you kind of pull it out with your hands a little bit and then slide it in as you're lowering it. So, but yeah, I only took a couple minutes to do that, and it came out good. You know, those were just some of the basic things that issues that I won't call them issues, but just taking your time and just doing it correctly. But right now, this is kind of the mock-up of where I'm at right now of the Triceratops. I can go ahead. I don't even have the head attached here right now, but let's take a look about the head, and we'll talk about it for a little bit. Move this out of the way. Now, as you recall, I put the frill and the face are two separate parts, and it left a nice big seam all the way around the perimeter of from his top of his forehead all the way down the sides of his face, and so it left about it wasn't even a seam, it was more of a little small gap all the way across. So what I did was once I let the glue set up, I actually took some epoxy. There's our epoxy A and B. Did a 50-50 on it and rolled it up, and I actually put epoxy all the way around the whole perimeter where the gap was at, all the way around. And of course I molded it in place, and I sprayed a little water on there just to keep it smooth. Ran my finger and kind of molded it right into the existing parts themselves to make it look seamless. And then what I did to give it a skin texture was I actually took some 4x4 gauze and just kind of dabbed it while the putty was still soft, and I just dabbed it around to kind of give it that skin texture look to it. The putty does take 1 to 3 hours working time, so I had plenty of time for that, and then I just let that set overnight to let it cure. This morning I took a look at where I put the horns, and there's a couple small little gaps in there too, so I decided to do the epoxy putty just to kind of take care of the little small gaps around the perimeter of the horns to his brow. So there you go. So I say it's a lot of prep time, but well worth it, and to get him looking right, and because this is one bone structured, skull on there. There's shouldn't be any seam lines at all. It's be all one, solid bone. So I want to make sure I impress that to make it look good. So there you go on that. As far as you can see right here, we got the jaws where we can open and close, and so that's the inside of his mouth. Probably can't see it because it's a little light. Let me see if I can bring it down a little bit. So that's the preliminary of my ear brushing there. I might have to do a little touch up on there, but it's looking pretty good. So there you go. Of course, these guys parrot beak like appendage there on the front for foraging is ferns and cycads and stuff back in the prehistoric days. So that's about where I'm at right now, and like I said, right now we're kind of getting ready to do a paint scheme on it. I'll set this back up here, kind of mock it up a little bit. See if I can get it back here in focus. Alright. So this is where we're at right now, and I just want to kind of share with you the steps that I've come up to this far. So we'll have another little update after this, and it'll probably end up being the finale, possibly. And so that's where we're at. So everybody have a good day. Stay warm up north, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching and subscribing.